Okay. Focus here is still two proportions. But now we'd like to see how we go about a test as opposed to an interval. Okay, so obviously get to stat and test. Okay, here you can actually see it. Down at option number 6, you see the two proportions z-test. I'm going to head down there. Not the data that I'm going to use. I actually have some data from the third example in your 10-1 day 3 notes. It's in the outline. It's got the data on the rates at which individuals needed social services later in life based on if they were attended preschool or did not. Okay. So really, really similar to the interval, right? So now just to be clear here, if I'm doing a test, right, I know in my 4-step I've got HO and HA and whatnot. So my goal here shouldn't obviously be to get an interval. I'm really looking to get a statistic, a test statistic, which we just typically call a z-score because that's what it labels it on the calculator, and a p-value, right? And sure enough, you're going to see it's the first two things that are listed. I did preschool minus no preschool. So I had to go 38 over 62, and then 49 and 61. And the way I set up this test, it was a less than. And I hit down to calculate z-score and p-value. I definitely want those. A third thing here is down at the bottom here, where it says 0.707. You just round it to 0.71. When you show your work to calculate your z-score, you want that because this z-score of negative 2.32 was calculated using what we call P sub C. Right? Your notes calls it a combined proportion or a pooled proportion. That number you'd need because we don't plug in, P hat or P1 and P sub 1 and P sub 2. We use P sub C for both of them because we're making the assumption that, our two proportions are the same. And that's the number we'll use for it. So really there's three things here that you want: z-score, p-value, and this just calls it p hat, which is kind of a confusing thing. But that's P sub C, and you would want that as well.